Hello and welcome to How to Survive. My name is Joe, and joining me as ever, he just took a DNA test, and it turns out he's that bitch. Chris Morris.
Hello.
You right?
Yes. Thank you for greeting me with the words of Lizzo, our
good.
Lord and Saviour.
It's a good song, huh?
Yeah, she's good value. Do you want to tell the good listeners what this week's film is?
Yes.
Thank you for your vegan intermission last week.
It's all right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be invited back on.
Yeah. We had an email in, actually, on the back of that. From Simon, who I read his email out and pretended I didn't pretend. I was angry. I was angry with him mentioning sushi in an email. He was basically fearful that it was real.
Yes, that you really had staged a vegan coup.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't realise I was drunk or was meant to be drunk in that.
Right. Yeah.
I just thought I sounded like
I
Adam
thought
Buxton.
you had cabin fever, which by coincidence is this week's
movie.
film.
Yeah. Cabin Fever from 2002, directed by Eli Roth.
Yes.
His first appearance on the How to Survive podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Probably his last.
Well, yeah.
Unless we cover the house with the clock in the walls.
Yeah. Well, remember we've been asked to do a sort of spoiler-free review before the spoiler.
I think we just have.
Spoiler curtain. I think that's your review.
Yeah.
Very concisely put.
Cabin Fever is available on Amazon Prime to rent.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it on Netflix?
Just wherever. Just type Cabin Fever into Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll get it. It's not worth it though. It's a movie which has one joke which is worth it, and the joke is racist, and I can't repeat it on it.
Yeah, and also it's at the very start and very end of the film, which is it feels like a trap.
Like the joke works, and it's a funny payoff, right?
Yeah,
and like it uses a racist word, but it's fine.
Yeah,
right? But yeah, don't worry about that.
That's all there is to
just look it up. It's good on YouTube.
That's all there is that's good to say about Cabin Fever.
If you haven't listened to the How to Survive podcast before, we are full of spoilers. You know,
mm-hmm.
We spoil it rotten. We infect it, and rot its skin,
and dump it in the lake.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do want to remain spoiler free for Cabin Fever, even though it's been out for 18 years, now is your chance to dip out and
lock yourself in a shed.
Yeah, inoculate yourself against spoilers.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll be ploughing on after this.
Karen, I'm sorry. We just don't want to get it.
Karen, we're going to get help now.
Somebody help!
So a quick recap of the plot, Chris, because you may not have watched A Cabin Fever for
the
some
quicker
weeks.
the better.
A group of teenagers are heading to a cabin in the woods for a few days of drinking and horror movie cliche partying.
Mm-hmm.
They are Jeff, Marcy, Paul, Karen, and Bert. It doesn't matter who's who.
They are a who's who of horror movie tropes.
Exactly, yeah.
But it doesn't matter who's who.
You've got normal guy, his girlfriend, blonde girlfriend,
we'll
couple who like sex.
We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this in a bit. But I don't think this film knows who its main character is.
Yes, that's right. And neither do we.
Yeah.
En route to the cabin in the woods, they meet a group of angry hillbillies who naturally rile them up and put them on edge. At the cabin, they begin to have sex, drink beer, and generally carry on in classic cliche horror movie fashion. Bert spends some time shooting at squirrels, but accidentally shoots a passing man, a hermit. The hermit begs Bert for help and appears to be succumbing to some kind of infection, but Bert runs away and leaves him. That night, while sharing campfire ghost stories, the group is interrupted by Grim, a new metal drifter, and his dog Mambo, or Dr. Mambo.
Grim, obviously played by Eli Roth.
Yeah, of course. He's in all his films, isn't he?
I'm sure he is, yeah. And most of Tarantino's.
Yeah, perfect.
And most of Robert Rodriguez's, I think.
A shower of rain forces the group inside, and Grim heads to collect his belongings, intending to rejoin the group later at the cabin. Before long, there's a knock at the door, but it's not Grim. It's the infected hermit from earlier, who begs them for help. They close the door on him, so he tries to steal their car, vomiting blood all over it in the process. In an attempt to accost him, the group accidentally set him on fire, forcing him into the woods. Unbeknownst to the gang, the hermit dies, falling into a reservoir which provides water to the cabin. Karen drinks some water before taking a nap. While she sleeps, Paul tries to finger her, but discovers her leg is covered with a bleeding lesion. The group immediately quarantine her by locking her in an outdoor shed. After a night of much screaming and bickering, as well as an attempt to explore local areas for help, Bert fixes the car, but soon realises that he too is infected. The group begins to fray. Bert heads into town, alerting the hillbillies to the fact that he and his friends are unwell, and invoking some kind of hillbilly disease control team who aim to kill him and the friends. And they succeed in killing him and I think one of the others. I don't recall. But they all die in the process as well.
Yes, yeah. It's a bloodbath.
Yes. Before that, though, Paul and Marcy have sex for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, literally no reason.
I think the line
whatsoever.
is, you know, when you're in an aeroplane and you think it's going to crash and you want to have sex with the person next to you.
It's like you just want to grab the person next to you and fuck their brains out because you know you're both going to die.
That happens.
Yeah.
So fine. Marcy gets the illness.
I should point out as well,
Paul's girlfriend is still alive in the shed outside at this point.
Her boyfriend, Marcy's boyfriend, is still alive.
No, Marcy. Yeah. He just left like minutes ago.
Yeah, and what I would like to point out is that Paul's post-coital attempt at killing off any STDs he might have contracted during the coitus is by pouring a bottle of Listerine over his dick. Which I do not believe would work, and therefore How to Survive does not endorse it as a method of performing safe sex.
You not got that in the How to Survive section for later. This is just the freebie up front.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, Paul leaves and goes into the woods, and Marcy shaves her legs?
She shaves her legs and shaves them in spite of the fact that they're like falling to bits, like pulled pork. Yeah. And then she goes outside and is eaten by dogs.
Well, the dog, Dr. Mambo.
The dog, Dr. Mambo,
who is a doctor in being a dog, let's not forget.
Yeah.
Paul falls into the reservoir, landing on the hermit's body and contracting the illness.
Yeah.
That is a funny shot, I have to say. Yeah. He's like, oh God, there's a dead body in here.
He tries to poke it with a stick for some reason.
Falls in.
Yeah, I think it's to see whether it's the hermit.
Yeah, which obviously it is.
And then obviously it just falls in.
Face first onto it. He goes back to camp, kills the dog, and then kills Karen, who is his girlfriend. Yeah, who he finds having been being eaten by the dog.
Yeah, her face has been
eaten off. So he bludgeons her to death with a shovel.
Yeah.
Paul heads into the woods.
Dignity. Always dignity.
Eventually finding a police deputy who's drinking with a group of teenagers. He infects a few of the group before knocking out the deputy, who was under orders to kill him, and escaping. He hitchhikes to a hospital, but once there, the police remove him and kill him, leaving his body in the woods, bleeding into the reservoir. Yeah. Some children make lemonade with the reservoir water, and the police all drink it, but not before killing Jeff, who had been hiding the entire time. And then they burn all the characters' bodies. And that's Cabin Fever.
Yeah. 195 episodes, and you've finally got the chance to say the word fingering on the podcast.
Second time, mate.
Oh, really?
Alien 3, I mentioned David the robot fingering his flute.
Oh, you mean Alien Covenant?
No, it was in Alien 3. Weirdly, I listened to Alien 3 on the way over.
Okay.
I like to listen to our own podcast to get me in the mood.
It'll warm you up. Just a little bit of cultural context, Joe, for Cabin Fever. I know you like a little bit of that. The idea for the film came from a trip to Iceland that Eli Roth took, where he developed a skin condition.
Mm-hmm. Bad movie-itis.
Yeah. The film has a couple of sequels: Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever. No prizes for guessing what the plot of that film entails. Mm-hmm. And Cabin Fever, Patient Zero, again. and was remade in 2016 from the original script and produced by Eli Roth. And the remake currently holds a 0% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
Well,
it didn't have the steady hand of Roth guiding it.
Well, it did.
In the director's chair.
Exactly. That's what it was missing it.
Yeah.
You can only do so much from the producer's chair. Yes.
So, with that said, is it any good?
No, not really. It's a great example of early noughties, nasty horror trash in a similar vein to Wolf Creek, but making Wolf Creek look like a masterpiece by comparison.
Like a Kubrick-esque.
Yeah, it's sexist, it's leering, violent, bland, boring, and artless as a film.
It has got that one good joke, though.
It has got one good joke. We can't really talk about it because that would spoil the joke and also involve a racial epithet that we shouldn't be saying.
Yeah, the movie shouldn't be saying either. Like, don't get me wrong, right? It's to say it's the best part of the film isn't to say it's good. It's to say it's like it took me by surprise. It was if you would just take the format of a joke, which is to lead you down one path, and surprise you, it did that.
Yes, it does. Yeah, effectively. I would say though that the one good moment of the film is actually when the deer comes through the windshield as Paul is driving down the road. Because in that moment it crystallized something for me, which was that Eli Roth thinks he's making Evil Dead. He thinks that's the level he's borrowed the tone and the style and the fun of Evil Dead. Yeah. And it only comes across in that 1 5-second moment, basically.
When the deer is like
like flailing, and it's like obviously absurd, and it's really bloody and stupid.
Yeah, he wants to make Evil Dead. That's and even to the point where it's in a cabin in the woods.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's part like virus horror, part hillbilly horror, and it's part sort of interpersonal conflict drama. But I think to give it those labels sort of makes it's like damning it with faint praise, really, because I don't think it, rather than it being a film that,
it's also inadequate in all those aspects.
Rather than being a film that sort of tastefully blends those things, it's just like feels sort of an accident that any of that has happened.
Yes, I think it's meant to be a horror comedy, right?
Yeah,
like you say, but the problem is it has the sense of humour of a YouTuber who tricks homeless people into eating toothpaste.
Right. Yeah, real thing that happened in the year of our Lord 2019.
That's to say, it is nasty and disrespectful to its characters, more so than it is even slightly funny.
Yeah, but then also its characters are nasty and disrespectful to the world and each other.
That's true. Like, they're among the worst we've ever seen.
I think so.
The way I describe them is kind of like post Adam Sandler levels of wacky.
Yeah.
Therefore, they have no place in a horror movie. So you've got like the deputy who likes to party, and every other word is party. It's like, you must love partying, man. I love party. It's like, what's this supposed to be?
Yeah.
What are you trying to do with this?
Without any purpose, really.
Then you've got the Papa Roach fan drifter.
Yeah.
Which is like, what's this supposed to be? But they're extremely lame, and the movie knows that they're lame, and the characters kind of like raise their eyebrows at them, like, aren't these guys lame? But that's not enough, because it's like, in other parts of the film, it's quite grounded, and it just comes up muddled.
Yeah, and also that whole eyebrow raising thing is all well and good, but essentially you're then left siding with a group of characters who are essentially high school bullies. Yeah. That's what they come across as.
Exactly.
I think it's difficult to have sympathy, especially with Paul, which he is ostensibly the main character, right?
Right, I think, because he's given the most screen time.
Yeah, but here's his arc, right? He mopes that his crush won't sleep with him. Then he tries to seduce her when she's sick.
I think she's asleep.
She's asleep, and
he tries to finger her.
And it's I don't know how it appears to be consensual. It appears to be that she wakes up and is consenting by,
I don't know, mate,
lack of non-consent.
I thought she was.
It's
she
not,
remained unconscious the whole time.
No, I think she does wake up. I think. I wouldn't, bet the house on it, but he then spies on a random stranger, then has unprotected sex with one of their mutual friends, who is also the girlfriend of his friend. Then he euthanizes his crush in perhaps the least dignified way imaginable.
Smashing her head
in with a shovel.
Yeah.
And it's not like it takes him sort of 6 or 7 like wet hits to accomplish the job, which, I mean, she wasn't consenting to being fingered, and there's no way of knowing whether she was consenting to being bludgeoned to death with a shovel. I noticed that on the Cabin Fever Wikia /fandom site, there is a particularly poor review of Marcy's character from one commenter, which I enjoyed. Unfortunately, I don't have a name, but it's dated October 30th, 2018, so it's very much it's a contemporary thought, and think of 2018's moral compass when I read this out.
So this is the year of Me Too?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a fandom user says, at least Karen isn't a slut like Marcy. Marcy had sex with Jeff and Paul. Karen didn't really have sex with anyone. Her one kiss was with Paul and only Paul. She never kissed Jeff or Bert. Marcy deserves to die because she is a slut. A fugly slut.
Well...
There you go. I mean, that's...
Eli Roth.
What more is there to say?
That's the problem with the general public, isn't it?
Yeah. I think also there's a number of moments throughout the film, a great deal of moments, where it feels like quite a leap for the characters to be behaving in the way that they do. But it's not just that it feels unlikely for these characters to be behaving in this way, it's that
no one in their right mind would ever act that
it's
way.
Unlikely that any human would be behaving in this way. Like, it's one of those things where if you think an alien civilization came down and this was the only record of humanity that was left, what conclusions would they draw?
Yeah.
And, or it's like, an alien made a film about humanity.
What they think it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
It's made by a robot who doesn't understand emotions.
Yeah.
And the stupidest thing is obviously the chap who is like obviously unwell and he's like, please help me. And they set him on fire.
Yeah. It's not their intention originally, is it?
No, but then...
Yeah, they have already shot him twice, I think, by that point.
Yeah, it ain't good.
No.
They're not good people.
No.
Is that a problem? Is not feeling sympathy for any of your cast an issue?
Well, it depends if that's the aim of the film, isn't it? Like, because in this instance, it's very difficult to feel sympathy for any of them. If Eli Roth's intention is to just, collect a group of people together who you have no reason to care for, then, brilliant, mission accomplished.
but give them an Oscar, right?
Yeah, but then, do you feel anything when any of them die? Not really. The closest I think that you come is probably Karen, just because it's so undignified the way in which she dies, and that has with it like its own sort of levels of unpleasantness.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think the movie judges Paul for
it's on his side.
Exactly.
He's doing the right thing.
Yeah, and which is problematic in itself, I think.
Yeah, it's a mistake. I don't know. Maybe there's an argument that because they're unlikable. And I think a lot of horror movies try this. It's like they're unlikable, so we might relish in their misery when they do die, or we feel like they're getting their comeuppance. But when they're the protagonists, that's an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you have reasonable ethics, them acting in that way will upset you, but so will them dying a horrible death.
Yeah, exactly.
None of them actually die from the disease.
Right. Yeah. So Paul gets killed by the police.
Yeah.
Marcy gets ripped apart by dogs.
Yeah.
Bert gets shot by police.
By hillbillies.
Oh, by hillbillies.
Jeff gets shot by police.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Karen gets her head stoved in with a shovel.
Right.
So none of them die of the illness, which is great.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I guess
the
it's
real
trying to
illness is mad.
Yeah, exactly. That is the point, isn't it?
Is it simultaneously one of the most and least original horror movies ever? Most because it's a disease outbreak in a hillbilly horror setting, and least because it is appallingly predictable.
I mean, what is really the fundamental difference between this and Evil Dead? If you're talking about an outbreak in a wooded cabin,
Charm.
Well, yeah, no,
I
absolutely. But
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of originality, it's got the same format as Evil Dead.
Dead's a pastiche, isn't it? Evil Dead knows it's a horror movie and plays with the tropes of horror in a funny way.
Yeah.
This doesn't.
This arrived 20 years later.
Yeah.
And isn't in on the joke, basically.
It seems to have forgotten what made Evil Dead good, or not understood it originally, probably.
Yeah.
Like, we've got Shaun of the Dead coming up in a few weeks' time. That is amazing because it understands the elements of a zombie movie so well. Like, Mark Kermode does these documentaries where he shows that in certain genres, the narrative takes on cliches, things that are so predictable that they're almost cliche. But then you can do interesting things with those elements.
Yeah,
so
by subverting them or...
Right, so in a heist movie, you get the people gathered around the map, learning about it, but you could do that in myriad different ways, where you got them in the room, or you could have them running through it in their minds, or you have them showing an animation of some kind.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways and interesting ways you can do it.
Yeah.
And that's what Shaun of the Dead does, is it just...
The pub, get Liz, go to the pub.
Right, exactly, yeah. That keeps coming back up.
Yeah.
But I don't think Cabin Fever does anything remotely interesting. It doesn't have any of those subversions.
No, not at all. I think it's pretty rote, isn't it? It's straightforward all the way through.
Yeah. It comes off like maybe an SNL sketch at times, and other times maybe like an early Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
What do you think of the ghost story? That just comes from nowhere and is like...
Right, yeah.
Like 10 minutes given over to that.
Yeah, and it's... Yeah, I don't know. What can you say? Until you'd said it, I had forgotten it completely, basically. I don't think it's not nourishing to the film, is it?
Not nourishing to anything. Eli Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Bit rubbish, isn't it? Like he's obviously lauded in some areas of the internet for being a director. And we get recommended his movies quite a lot. For instance, Hostel.
Yeah.
And the Hostel series.
Yeah.
And we've tied ourselves with a certain brush, Chris, by doing franchises like Saw in our marathon videos. Mm-hmm. And people insist that we do Hostel. Do you ever see us doing Hostel?
I don't know, really. I dread to think what the sort of challenges we do mid-marathon would be in the case of Hostel.
Burning our eyes out.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's just a bit miserable, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're
There's
just
no fun to be had.
Yeah. They're extremely nihilistic in a way even the Saw films aren't.
Yeah. I wouldn't ever describe the Saw films as cheery, but... they had moments that made us laugh.
Yeah, well, we've said it before. It's like the Saw films, the joy in it is seeing the absurdly elaborate traps visiting violence upon people.
Yeah.
Whereas in Hostel, it's joyless because rather than a overcomplicated trap, it's just a man with a drill or a man with a blowtorch, and he's just doing it because he's a sadist.
Yeah.
So yeah, where's the joy? I know I haven't watched it, but I've seen enough of The Green Inferno to know that I don't think we should ever watch it.
Yeah, that's a remake of Cannibal Holocaust.
Is it a remake, strictly speaking? I don't think it is. It's like just a
homage.
It's just a film about cannibals, I think.
It's meant to be like Cannibal Holocaust.
It's meant to be like it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's not to say it's not narratively tied to it.
A spiritual successor, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Are there any directors that you dislike more? I really don't. The reason I'm saying that, I don't like Eli Roth. Okay. I don't like any of his films. I find them a bit repellent.
Okay.
This is the only one I think we could reasonably cover without me turning my nose up a bit. I was surprised to find that he directed The House with the Clock in Its Walls, which is a children's comedy from last year.
Yeah. With Jack Black in it.
I don't imagine it's very funny, but...
I don't know.
You seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I'd imagine that he's probably... I don't think he's completely he's not hopeless. Like he's not. He knows how to film things.
Yeah, right.
It's just the things that he often chooses to film are repellent.
Yeah.
Whereas if so, you know,
I'm not saying he's incompetent. I'm saying I just don't like. It's,
Yeah,
it's
no,
almost
but
like that's worse because he's putting his expertise into making things that are so horrible.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Rob Zombie, similarly.
Yes, they're both directors from this early noughties trash horror period, aren't they?
Yeah, who are known for making these like washed out,
Just
colourless.
like bleak, nihilistic. I don't know what it was about the early noughties that made people suddenly love the idea of watching horror movies that have no like joy or
hope,
fun or humour or anything, because all of those films from that era are just like soul-sapping, nihilistic, cruel, nasty pieces of work. And yeah, unfortunately Eli Roth is one of the main proponents of that.
Other directors similar to that though, Michael Bay, who came out of that era but making action movies instead of horror.
Well, he was around a bit before, wasn't he? Because he did Pearl Harbor and
and
Broken Arrow.
Three Kings was him, or
I don't know. It's just he's like, you know, all of those sorts of films basically. Yeah,
but he's gone more. It's like he made some fairly rubbish action films, and then saw movies like this and was like, I should make that. I should take the elements of these and put them in Transformers.
Yeah.
And that's to say nothing for old Tarantino as well, who is, I think he's part of the same school.
I don't like Tarantino at all, really. But I think he's several leagues above both of those other directors.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. And at least he does have he does have a sense of humour. He does have some flair, and you know, it's just not particularly to my tastes, but yeah.
But they're watchable films in a way that Hostel 3 probably isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Chris, you know a thing or two about outbreaks of illnesses around cabins in movies, do you?
Yes, I do.
Want to see how much you know about other diseases in movies?
Okay.
In my Diseases in Movies quiz. Fairly straightforward, right? I'm going to describe a disease. I might give you its name if it's known. Otherwise, I'll describe its transmission or its effects, and you just tell me what movie it appears in.
Okay.
It could be a franchise, of course, and I'll accept anything from that franchise as the answer. Question 1. Motaba.
Okay.
Motaba is the name of the disease, and it is a Ebola-like virus in Zaire, and later in a small town in the United States.
The Crazies, is it?
No. Dustin Hoffman stars.
Dustin Hoffman stars? I don't know. Outbreak. There you go.
You didn't get it.
No. I was immune.
Yeah. Question 2.
I bet how much were you hoping for me to get one wrong so you could use that?
What? Yeah. That's why I wrote the quiz. Question 2.
Yeah.
Nipah.
Nipah.
The deadly disease is modelled on a combination of influenza and a virus called Nipah, which causes inflammation of the brain, respiratory issues.
Are any of them the Crazies?
No.
Before I state the Crazies.
It's not the Crazies. The Crazies does not.
Is it something I've seen?
Yep.
What era are we talking?
Probably noughties, I'd say.
Nipah, noughties, influenza. I don't know.
You kick yourself. Contagion.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Question 3. A genetically re-engineered measles virus, originally created as a cure for cancer, turned lethal.
I'm not sure I'm going to get any of these. It's quite a difficult quiz this week.
Yeah.
Genetically engineered measles virus trying to cure cancer. Again, have I seen it?
I imagine you've seen it, yeah.
Have we covered it on the podcast?
No.
Era?
2009, I think.
2009.
its name is the Crippen virus, if that helps.
Oh.
For short.
Pardon?
KV for short.
KV. Oh, is it? No, it's not the Resident Evil. It's not a Resident Evil virus.
No. Oh, that's tell you, it's I Am Legend.
Right. Okay. Yeah. God, there's so many films about diseases.
Yep. So I don't know how to really explain this one, so I'm just going to read the first line. In a morgue, a man with an Abaddon tattoo has sex with a corpse that has a biohazard symbol on the toe tag. Afterwards, he handles an empty test tube while washing up. Later, I believe he rapes a woman and gives her the disease.
This is your favourite movie, right?
What?
I don't know what this is.
It's Contracted.
Right. Okay. Good.
Nice
one.
Yeah, I don't know if it's particularly nice. It has a sequel, so it must have done something. It took $4,105 in the box office.
Is that all it takes to get a sequel?
Yeah, apparently.
Wow.
So maybe next week we'll do Contracted. T-Virus.
That is Resident Evil.
That is Resident Evil,
yeah.
yes. And finally, this one should be fairly easy for you. The virus in this movie is highly contagious. It is transmitted by blood, saliva, and other bodily fluids. The infected are puppets of the demon possessing the girl Tristana Medeiros.
Oh, it's Wreck.
Yes.
Yes.
Well done.
Nice.
So was that 2 out of 6?
Yeah. not one of my best works, but I don't think I'd seen, or maybe I had seen them, but yeah.
You've seen Contracted?
I haven't seen Contracted. I haven't seen... Oh, I have seen I Am Legend and Contagion. What was the first one?
Outbreak.
Outbreak, I haven't seen.
Contracted, 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, if you want. A young woman begins bleeding, shedding maggots and hallucinating after a stranger sexually assaults her at a party. So that's a lovely idea for a film.
Awesome.
So
it's befitting of the Cabin Fever episode.
Yeah. I like that she's shedding maggots and hallucinating.
Yeah.
That's problematic because you wouldn't know what to believe, would you? Okay, Chris. With all that said, how on earth would you survive the cabin fever?
Okay, so when Karen gets infected, they quickly establish quarantine rules.
Yeah, drag her outside on a mattress and lock her in the shed.
Yeah, basically isolate the infected person to ensure that the infection doesn't spread. They check each other with a torch to make sure they haven't got any legions, etc. But if you establish quarantine rules, you should probably also try not to handle the very infectious person with your bare hands continuously. Same goes for carrying her back and forth to the shed by a filthy, blood-soaked mattress.
Yeah.
As Jeff so eloquently states, I don't want any of us getting sick, but you two fucking fuckers insist on touching her. Now she's bleeding all over both you guys, so you two can fucking rot, but not me. No fucking way, not me.
He did say that. He was right.
Yeah, because although I'm not sure any of them actually get infected from Karen.
Well, it's not clear whether Paul gets his infection from sexually transmitted or with either person.
Yeah.
Or falling directly onto patient zero. Face first.
It might have been that. But I mean, they're trying to get the best of both worlds, right? Aren't they? They're trying to have a system where, let's be sensible, let's quarantine them, and then also at the same time, let's have as much physical contact with them without protection as possible.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe that's the point though?
What, that they're idiots?
Yeah.
Well, very possibly, but the question is not for us to say whether or not they're idiots. Yeah, it's not called How to Not Be an Idiot, and you and I would certainly not be the hosts if that were the title. But it's they establish a policy, an aim, which they then quickly and continually break.
Yeah, that's true. it'd be interesting to go back and just think about the fomites.
Yeah, exactly.
Fomites, if you think back to Contagion, were every time you touch a surface, you pick up the bacteria and virus on that surface, and then you touch your face like. Kate Winslet in the trailer for Contagion is like, you touch your face 90,000 times a day.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to see, the thing is as well that there's a lot more. There are a lot more fomites in Cabin Fever, and yet Contagion is much more the affecting portrayal of how diseases spread.
Yeah, right.
Contagion. It's all about, one particle of like a sneeze ends up on a door handle.
Yeah. And then hard cut to Kate Winslet in a body bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then, whereas this is like, people spraying fountains of blood. And I don't think even Eli Roth knows who gets infected when, really.
No.
It's a bit like The Thing, isn't it? Only without any of the things that make The Thing good.
Yeah. Yes. So it's just
Yeah. How about you? Any survival ideas?
Yeah, just be reasonable. That is good advice, I think, cogent advice. Let's say say New Year's Eve, right? We went away to a cottage.
Yeah.
Not quite a cabin in the woods, but if there'd been a knock at the door in the dead of night, and we opened the door and there was someone there who was obviously in a very bad state, you would probably, recognisably in need of medical care, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't just shut the door in their face.
Yeah.
You might say, look, I'll call an ambulance or I'll get you help. But you wouldn't shoot them and set fire to them, I'd suspect.
Yes, that's correct, yeah. Are you saying that those are unreasonable behaviours?
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair comment.
This isn't how should be reasonable.
No. And if it was, you and I certainly wouldn't be hosting.
Exactly. But I can imagine a situation where if I was presented with someone who was in desperate need of help, I'm not first aid trained, admittedly, and maybe that's an issue, but I would at least say, look, sit down. I will call the ambulance. I'll take you to somewhere you can get help.
Yeah,
but don't touch me, please, because you're obviously infected. Yeah. I think there's ways of dealing with it other than what they do, which is shoot them and set them on fire.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think you'll find that in the operations manual of any sort of public health body.
St. John's Ambulance don't carry a torch, and a flaming torch and a gun.
No, I get why. Basically, it's is it Bert covering up for his shooting of the man originally?
Well, then again, be reasonable, man. You just shot him. Just help him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why does he run away? Because he's a fucking idiot.
Because he's diseased, isn't he? He's like, flesh slothing off him.
So he runs off.
Yeah, I think so.
Come on.
Yeah.
Not a good way to act, is it?
It's not. No, I do. In mitigation, I do understand that. For one thing, it's quite sinister and frightening if a extremely diseased individual lunges at you and is bleeding and all that sort of thing, and it's the dead of night and you're in an unfamiliar location. However, I know they don't have any duty of care to an individual because they're not doctors or anything like that.
No, but they're not. I mean, if they
have a duty as members of the human race
to help another person.
Yeah, I would say.
And there's enough of them to competently do it, I'd suggest.
Yeah, probably.
And they probably wouldn't have all ended up dead if that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, this next point goes back to old Karen.
Karen.
Our friend Karen.
Faceless Karen.
Yeah, it's basically the same moment as my other point, which is when they're transporting her, they, in an echo of an earlier scene with the hillbilly, the hermit, they go to put her in the front of the pickup truck.
Yeah.
Immediately vomits blood all over. Like fills the inside of the truck with
infected
bloody
blood.
vomit. Yeah. So just put her in the flatbed. It's a flatbed truck. Just put her in the flatbed.
Yeah,
You've got a mattress. We know that.
Yes.
Just put her in there. strap her down if you need to. I mean, she's not long for this world anyway.
Put the 2 infected people in the back, everyone else sit in the front. Easy.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And then you have established a mobile quarantine unit, which is not going to, you're not going to ruin your only means of escape by getting it covered in infected blood.
It's true, isn't it? You said about how the movie acts like how aliens would think we might act.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre that like they aren't all thinking we need to get this person help immediately.
Yeah.
Like, let's load her into the car. Let's take it into town to get to the hospital. Instead, they're like, we'll lock her in a shed till morning and then kill her.
Yeah, it's not good, is it?
If I succumbed, if we were, let's say we're in this cottage again, and God forbid anything would happen to your girlfriend. If she got ill, and I was like, let's stick her in the shed. I suspect you'd say, "Fuck off! Hold on a second."
Yeah, there's a bathroom.
Yeah,
like there's myriad rooms.
1 minute now.
Yeah,
and if somehow I was to convince you to put her in the shed, I'm assuming you wouldn't then sleep with my wife.
No, absolutely not. No.
And
at the very least, I'd use more protection than a bottle of Listerine.
Yeah, before or after.
Yeah. Good. That's all nice stuff to be.
Just to be clear, just in case it happens, I need to know. I need to establish my position on it.
Oh dear. Good. Any more ideas?
Yeah, my advice is for the hermit.
Okay.
Go home.
Right. But he's a hermit.
Right. You called him a hermit. You say that, but when they go to another incident where it's like a character who I'd forgotten about and is completely inconsequential.
Yeah.
An angry woman milking a cow.
Right.
Or like cutting down a piece of meat or something. And they go in her house and she's like sub SNL extra levels of acting. And they see a picture of the hermit pre-illness. And she's like, oh, that's Bill or whatever, Charlie. So he's obviously got somewhere he can go. Right. They've walked there from the cabin.
Yeah, that's true.
So why didn't he go there and say, can you get me help?
He doesn't get shot far from the cabin either.
No.
I mean, I don't know how, maybe he's in a state of delirium by that point.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think that's a fair comment. Yeah, just go get help where you know help is.
Maybe you've fallen out with this person and had to go and live in the woods.
It doesn't appear that they have, because she's about to recommend him as a way of fixing
a mechanic.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's why he got in the car.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. Very good point.
So there you go, mate. If we were to get stuck in the cabin in the woods and a disease outbreak were to happen, we now know not only that you wouldn't sleep with my wife, but we also know how we'd survive.
Yes.
Which is good.
Good. Very good. Thank you for
surviving.
Yeah.
It's been good. It's been nice.
If you'd like to get in touch with the show, howtosurviveshow@gmail.com is the email address, and @howtosurvivepod is the Twitter handle.
Yeah. We had plenty emails, Chris. Plenty emails this week.
Maybe we'll spread some out over the next couple of weeks.
All right, we'll do a couple now. This is from Christoph.
Hello, Christoph.
Been watching you guys for about a year, so I'm guessing this is a YouTube listener.
Right.
Listen to your stuff pretty much every night before sleeping. Would love one day to see a one-off video podcast to witness the hilarious banter, not just with my ears, but my eyes as well. I'd also like to recommend How to Survive Hostel, as I believe it would be an interesting movie.
Podcast favourite, Eli Roth.
To listen to you both talk over. Also, if you're low on horror movies or disturbing content to review, may I pass on a YouTuber by the name of Spooky Rice. So check out Spooky Rice, man.
Yeah, we should probably vet that before it goes out in case he's a white supremacist, as much of YouTuber culture is nowadays.
The awesome quality and constant output of your content makes me very happy each time I listen. You're more than welcome.
Yeah, but to answer the video podcast question, which is something that we get quite a lot, the simple explanation is that it's quite expensive and time consuming to do video stuff, whereas it's very easy for us to podcast in an audio format completely naked as we do each week, without worrying about being censored on YouTube for what I believe is the natural state.
Yes.
If you're wondering why we're always in costume for our videos, it's because those are the only clothes that we own.
We have to dress up as people in movies.
Because
because other than that, we're just naked.
Yeah.
It takes so long to pixelate my
the CPU cost it's like Pixar in the 90s, like every frame requires like 3 days to render.
Yeah, because it's so substantial.
Yeah.
Christoph ends his email with a quite nice sentiment, which is, "You guys are truly amazing and I can't wait for you to blow up." So
let's hope he means in the fame regard.
Another email here from Elise, who is a previous emailer. She recommended quite a lot of films going back a little while. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think she suggested As Above, So Below, which we covered a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Hello, lads. I just listened to your episode on As Above, So Below. So there you go. You're welcome for my amazing suggestion, by the way. Thank you very much, Elise. Elise says she's particularly interested in our discussion of T-shirt ideas.
Okay.
And if we did create T-shirts or merch of any kind, we'd definitely have one buyer at least. Elise goes on that she's thinking about getting a tattoo. And wonders if there's anything she should get tattooed of the How to Survive show.
I mean, that's incredibly flattering. I'm not sure that I could ever recommend anyone
please
permanently mark their bodies with any of the fucking nonsense that we come out with every week.
It's not that good.
No, it's not. It's not that important culturally. Like, imagine in 30 years' time having to explain and justify that. Yeah. I mean, with that said, if with all that the podcast means enough to you that you still want to do it, then that's an incredibly flattering thing for someone to want to do, and we really appreciate it.
Yes.
As for T-shirts and merchandise, it's something that we've thought about.
And I'd be willing to put together a few T-shirt ideas if it stops you tattooing on your body.
Yes, exactly, yeah. But I mean, the thing that stops us is whether we would put the effort in and no one would buy any. Yeah. So
people seem to be waking up to this hostile thing, right? So if you want T-shirts of us as much as you want us to do hostel, guys, email in.
Yeah. Well, and also, we get a lot of emails asking about the next marathon video or whatever. Again, those things are very expensive to produce. Perhaps merchandise, if we were to go down that route, would help fund that. But I suspect that the cost of producing the next marathon video would largely outweigh any revenue from the merchandise that we'd get.
Especially as we are going to do that one naked.
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
Elise suggests an idea for a thing to put on either a T-shirt or her own body. Okay. Which is, who are these people? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, that is so mad to me that anyone would, first of all, wear a T-shirt with it, but also get a tattoo with that on, because that is fully mad.
But it is very, very flattering.
Extremely, yeah. Thank you very much for your email.
Couple more just quick ones, Chris. Quick one here from Chris, who says he's just discovered the podcast and enjoying it so far.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome. And recommends the 2016 Psycho babysitter film called Emily, spelled Emlie. It's not that great. It was made on a very small budget, and there are times you can definitely tell. But the atmosphere and the performances of the children and Sarah Bolger, my number one celebrity crush, as the babysitter, make it worth watching. It's currently on Netflix if you're interested.
Okay. Stick it on the list.
One more from Sam, who says, "Hi, Chris and Joe. Massive fan of the podcast. Discovered you guys after YouTube suggested me your Saw marathon. I've been listening every week since then. Just went back and listened to the Rec episode, and I'm wondering if you're going to do a podcast on the remaining 3 films in the series. I don't know how quality the following 3 films are, but even if it's shit, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on the series."
Well, I've seen Rec 2. It's okay, but not as good as the first one. Rec 3 is, I think, a prequel and animated.
Really?
Yeah, and I think Rec 4 is on
audio.
a cruise ship.
Yeah, cruise ship?
Yeah, or like a ship of some kind. And is actually surprisingly not that bad from what I've read. So maybe.
Maybe is the answer to that, Sam. Consider it added to the list.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for your emails. We'll get to some more next week.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Rest assured, they all go into the bingo machine of consideration.
Yeah.
And they will all be in the fullness of time,
Yeah.
we will watch everything.
Yeah, in the, when the heat death of the universe begins in earnest, we will still be going through movie suggestions. Thank you very much for listening. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get How to Survive, because it really helps us find a wider audience.
Yes. Next week, we're saying konnichiwa.
We are indeed.
To Ju-on the Grudge.
Yes.
Which is a third in the trilogy, Japanese horror movie.
Yes, but by far the most well-known and successful of the trilogy.
Yeah. It's basically the Japanese version of The Grudge.
Yes. And that kicks off J horror season.
Mm-hmm.
So look forward to that, J, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah. The week after that is Dark Water, if you wanted to watch that as well.
Yeah.
Both movies are on Amazon Prime to stream.
Mm-hmm.
See you next week for some Japanese horror fun.
And until next time, you can fucking rot.